Evening, everyone. It's Wednesday evening, and it's 7:32, and this is video number 676 for Wednesday night, the 17th. So we started out with all kinds of really crappy numbers, and much as I expected, all of these numbers were absolutely perfect for Fed Chair Powell. We had retail sales down yesterday, big. We had housing starts down 10% versus 2.5 expected. We had housing starts down 10.8% versus down 7% expected. And the year-over-year numbers were equally horrendous. And so the market started off on a kind of a negative bent, although obviously the big loser early on was the NASDAQ, down about 200. But we started to gain back, and the rate announcement was no surprise whatsoever. But the commentary and the press conference was pretty drastically different, and I'll tell you why. And I found it very interesting, and kind of the best of all worlds. First of all, Mr. Powell said that they are looking at data. They are not looking at projections, which is really great. It puts us a little bit behind the curve. But on the other hand, you have to realize that the Fed's projections are right about 1% of the time. They are constantly wrong. They are constantly underestimating things like inflation. I've been very vocal about this because grocery shopping shows you exactly how much inflation there is, and it's pretty big. So the market turned back to the upside, as did the advanced declines. So the Dow actually finished close to its high, and by the way, on a new high, up 189.42, or about 0.6%. The NASDAQ actually turned positive and closed up 53.63, or 0.4%. And the S&P made a nominal new high. When I say nominal, I mean under a couple of dollars. It was up 11.41, or 0.3%. Unfortunately, the Russell was only up 16.87, or 0.75%. And the problem with that is the fact that, yesterday it was down 40 odd points, the same the day before. And so a 16-point bounce is nice, but not terribly impressive. Doesn't put us back at a high. And the Dow Jones transports were up 137. The market internals were strong for a day like today. Where the NASDAQ actually finished up about 1.5 to 1 after being down pretty hard. The NYSE was 1.3 to 1 up. Volume was about in line with yesterday. So nothing overwhelming one way or the other. On the positive side, we had consumer discretionary, industrials, financials, materials, and energy. And the chart on the screen is the dollar, but I'm going to change that now and show you what the oil actually looked like. I've been discussing it here. It's down 4 cents tonight, which is really not much. But as I mentioned this morning, we keep on hitting this 50-day moving average. We bottomed and turned and closed on the high here. You have to realize this low is $33. This high is $68. 67.98. So every time that we looked like we were rolling over, we came back down and tested that 50-day. And again, and again, and again, and again, each time making new recovery highs almost immediately, certainly within days. So, as I pointed out this morning, we're kind of rolling over on the 5-day, but again, we are right on top of this rising 50-day moving average. And even when we have rolled over, like here, all we did is go and test prior support and that line. So prior support is right in this area around 63.25. And today's low was 63.60. So we closed at 64.60. So we closed $1 off the low, and we closed about 70 cents off the high. So about 2/3 up on the range, and not much else going on tonight. What was interesting with all of this inflation is coming, and we're going to let it run hot for a year or maybe more before we do anything about it, was the gold. The gold, for whatever reason, I don't know whether it's the Bitcoin influence as a replacement for it, but the gold has just not acted all that well. And what's interesting there is it has bottomed and has started back up. The 5-day looks like it's about to go through the 20-day back to the upside. To give you a little bit better perspective, let me show you. This is a pretty important area, and as you can see, this 1675 goes all the way back into here, with several bottoms and several bounces and a move up to the new all-time high here at almost 2100. So it's not been acting great, but it is acting better. I have been constantly talking about this close from a couple of weeks ago at 1728. We closed today 1719 and change, and in fact, we were actually down a little on the day. Go back to the daily and bring it in so you can see it. We actually closed down about $4, $3.80 after touching 1750. But what has happened tonight is we've started off straight up. We gapped up. So as I said, we closed down here at 1727. The low tonight is 1743. So we gapped at least $16 to the upside. The high is 1748. And if we can make a new higher high here, and especially if we can close over this, let's see, over 1757.40 either tomorrow or Friday, then I think we have a fair shot at trying 1800 again. The dollar was down, and I mentioned that before we go. I want to show you that this move in the gold and this little consolidation does not look at all like that when you go over to Newmont. And as you can see, well, we were down in Newmont to basically 54, and we closed 63 today. That's a pretty substantial move for a commodity that, while it has moved up, has not really had that kind of bullish momentum. What we went through in the last couple of days, Newmont went through almost a week ago. So it is getting a little on the overbought side, but that doesn't concern me as much because, frankly, when you have a commodity that really kind of governs or heavily influences a common stock, we start to see getting overbought is not the end of the world. Okay, so Kramer, that self-aggrandizing asshole, complained this morning on one of his fake rants that there were too many stocks. This is a guy who a couple of months ago was talking about how few stocks there are, how all these buybacks have limited the amount of stock. So, whichever way the wind blows. Okay, so there were 3 new issues today. Sun City, SNCY, came at 24, which was the original or the most recent range was 21 to 23. So they priced it at 24. It opened at 33. It moved all the way up to 38.36 and closed the day 36.40, which doesn't really have a comparison, but if you want to use the comparison of where it was priced, it was up $12.40 or about 52%. OLO, another one. I'm not sure what the name of that one is. Let's take a quick look because I had it on my screen. OLO Incorporated. Okay, that doesn't really help much, but it was priced at 25, opened at 31.57, traded down to 29 and change, and then up to 35, closed 33. So 33 on this one was up $8 or roughly 35%. And JWEL, let's see if we have a name on that one. JWEL is Joel Global Limited Shares. Honestly, I don't know what that means. The deal came at 7. It opened at 8.60. It traded down to 7.64 and up to 11 and closed the day at 8.70. Again, no comparison, but up $1.70. But what I want to get to are a couple of stocks that I've mentioned in the last couple of days during the weekend, and in the first pre-opening comment, I titled it that Facebook was a buy. And Facebook had closed 269 and change. As you can see, today was its 3rd day up in a row. It closed at 284.50, which is up over $15 for the week. The next one that I mentioned this morning in the pre-opening comment was Alibaba, because it was so close to these lows, so close to support, that it was a buy early with a stop literally under yesterday's low at 225.53. Today's low, 225.81, and it closed 233.67, up $6.74 or $6.74, up just under 3%. And one that we have been in since last week that I think looks just stupendous, GE. This move down was based on their virtual investor day last week, and there were some disappointing comments made, and in fact they said that they were going to reverse split the stock 1 for 8. Usually reverses don't work. For the most part, more often than not, you see a reverse when a stock fails to maintain its requirements to stay listed, and the basis is price. And of course, when they reverse it, it increases the price. Clearly, they would like to have a higher priced stock, but most of the analysts and a lot of the fund managers were dead set against it here. I'm not sure that it really matters. I'd rather not see it as opposed to see it. But you also have to realize that if you reverse something 1 for 8, you're eliminating 80%, or actually 88% of the outstanding. So you're making it easier to move. That's why every time that I show you one of those little names that got reversed and then all of a sudden exploded up 2 or 3 or 400% on news, when you create demand for the stock and there's less of it out, that's what happens. So we own the stock. Actually, we own the stock back here. Actually, even further than that, I wrote against it a couple of times. We have stock that cost $8.60 that I wrote against, and the adjusted price is actually closer to $4.20. But I want to show you what this weekly looks like. This weekly looks like it did the last time it had a major move. And what I'm talking about is a nice consolidation. It is a little overbought on the weekly, but the volume has come in. This is an inside week, so that really doesn't mean much. But as you can see, it got the bad news out of the way, and on Thursday it had closed 1227. On Friday, it barely touched unchanged. The low was 1223 and it closed 1258. Monday, it was up. Yesterday, it was down only slightly. And today, it is 1365, up $0.50. And the options that we're in cost 53 cents. They're the GE April 16th, 13 calls, and they closed at 99 cents, up a quarter today. So we may actually have to lose some of those on the 100% up rule, possibly as early as tomorrow. All right, everyone, that about does it for me. I wanted to show you the dollar. Almost forgot. Okay, US dollar. This has tried so many times to get moving here. It was down 44.5 cents today. It's really been trying. It tried building a little base here, made a low, made a higher low, closing on the high, started up, and just could not manage to get through this 92.5 area. Hit that area and then closed on the low. Next day down again, next day down again. And then for the last 4 days in a row, it has tried to break 92. 92.01.5, 92.04.5, 91.97, 91.96. And today, it closed at the bottom end of that range, and as I said, down about 45 cents. It does look like this blue line, which is the 20-day moving average, looks like it's trying to go through the 100 back to the upside. That would be positive, but who knows, with the amount of deficit that we're running. And make no mistake, the next deal will be the infrastructure, and I'm going to guess that it'll make the 1.9 trillion look like chicken feed. Although infrastructure rebuilding does have a multiplier effect because it puts people to work, and of course it also improves our infrastructure, which is desperately needed. All right, everyone. I went a little long tonight because I am not writing the daily note tonight, so this is everything that you're going to get. Although I will also, in the email, when I send the link to this, send you the link from the interview that we did yesterday with MCURF, Mind Cure, which is microdosing psychedelics for mental health, for a multitude of things. Kelsey Ramsden is a phenomenal CEO and operator. They just got a chief operating officer who was with Johnson and Johnson. And not to toot Kelsey's horn too much, she has been named 3 times the Female Entrepreneur of the Year in Canada, which is where she is. She has built over a half a dozen companies to 8-figure size. So she is not to be taken lightly. All right, everyone, have a good evening. I'll be back first thing in the morning.